Runegade is what happens when two ordinary friends dare to practice the lost art of conversation to better understand what it means to be a runner, a human. Should we follow convention and play by the rules? Or would it be better to trust our guts? Each episode, you'll learn from the experts, the underdogs, the elites and non-elites, those doing big things, all in that curious quest of being just a little bit better tomorrow. In a world of runners, be a renegade.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of One Being Number One. My name's Mark Prociw. I am one of the co-hosts of the show, and I know nothing about running. This is brand new to me. I just started, I'd say this year, a few months back, and it's turned into something that's become a daily activity for me, almost daily. But I'm joined today and every day with my friend, Todd Marentette. Todd, who are you?
Hey, Mark. I'm Todd. Just like you, I'm a runner. Been running for probably a little bit longer than you. And, one thing that I found really exciting was this past summer, out of the blue, you didn't say anything, but I started seeing you post your runs to Strava. And I'm like, oh, Lord, this is perfect. Maybe all this talking and all my stories of running have actually transferred to Mark and started to run. So that got me really excited. I love running, Mark. You know that. I've been talking to you about it for probably way too long. And you know what? Why did you start running, Mark? That's what I'm really interested in. Why did you start to run?
Well, I think you wore me down, Todd. I think eventually from, all the conversation about, the epic runs that you've partook in and the things that you've seen on your runs, just the overall fitness. I've seen you change over the years too, as well. From when we first met, we've known each other for getting close to probably
Are you
8 to 10 years now.
I was out of shape? Are you saying I was a little bit out of shape, Mark?
No, you were still a shape. But no, I've seen the change over the years. And for me, I'd say running is one of the easiest kind of accessible ways of fitness. All you need, 2 shoes, sometimes one, but just need, shoes are the minimal amount of equipment that you need, and just that will to get out there. And you don't need to run 5K right away. You don't need to run 2. You could just get out there, start walking, run a little bit, stop again, and just feel, better about yourself, starting the day with some level of fitness. And I think that's what it was for me. I've been off and on over the years with running a little bit here and there, but I would make the mistake of doing too much too fast and then be injured and then not really go back to it for a matter of months. So that was something that I took a little more seriously this year after talking to you about easing into things. And with using Strava, you indicated that maybe I was doing too much too fast. And sure enough, there were times where I injured my knees. So here I am doing things a little more even keel, slowing things down. And now I've actually really enjoyed it. So for yourself, have you had any injuries over the years? Maybe we're getting into things too fast. Let's take a step back here. But what does this show mean to you? Why did you want to partake in a podcast on running? Aren't there a lot of running podcasts already?
Yes, I would say there's lots of running podcasts already, and they all have their, I would say, uniqueness to them. There's probably a rotation that I listen to. That I enjoy, and we could share those in the show notes. But really, like I would say, for the 7-8 years that I've been running, I've come across so much really cool information, stuff that I learned, stuff that I've experienced, and it's really fun to have a time to talk and share that with others. Maybe it helps them. Maybe it helps them avoid some of the stuff that I've gone through. But also talking to runners, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, an elite, you can always learn something. So there's so much fun to just to have a conversation and to learn. So what is Runderlust to me? It's about that. It's about making running a part of our daily lives, try to balance work with life, um, taking care of ourselves, our bodies and our minds, having fun. That's, some things that people can probably take for granted sometimes, but it's about having some fun, having some laughing, uh, talking with a really good buddy. So I think it's just, that's what Runderlust is to me, is just that opportunity to share. And if we were out on the trails, Mark, if we were running today, we would probably be having the exact same conversation. We might be a little bit out of breath, but I think that's the fun thing, to have those trail conversations in a virtual world and share with others. What about you? What about you?
Sorry, I forgot what the question was.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, like, Runderlust, like, why did you want to start Runderlust with myself, being a new runner?
Excellent. Great question. For me, just being a part of something new and actually enjoying it. I mean, I wouldn't say that I have a ton of different hobbies. I mean, I enjoy music, but I've never been somebody that was a huge athlete in any sort of way. There was a series of months where I'd go to the gym maybe on a regular basis, but that would be it. So I'd always start something and then stop. And I feel with running, having a limited amount of time each morning in order to get a certain level of fitness in, running allowed me to do that within, say 30 minutes is what I was hoping to accomplish in any given day. And I can do that. I can strap on my shoes, run out the door, get back, and then start getting my kids ready for school, and then get myself ready for work. So very simple. I don't have to waste any time driving to a gym. Just go out my front door and run in my own backyard or around the neighborhood. So with running and the Runderless show, I thought that this might be a gateway for other new runners who are thinking about partaking in running or just dabbling in it a little bit, to show them that it's something that you can do. You don't need to be a skilled athlete. You don't need to be somebody who has always been, into sports. This is for anyone. And the neat thing is that when you're out at, whether it's your regular time in the morning or different times of the day, you see other people just pursuing the same thing and just getting out, having a nice, easy run. Some people are really giving her, but it's nice to see and share that kind of experience with other people. So I'm hoping that this podcast will bring that noob's perspective to running to the forefront here, and hopefully ask the questions that are on your mind, but maybe you're too afraid to ask.
That's a good point. What I think it's a common story that maybe all runners actually have, is that there is something really great about running. It doesn't require a whole lot of equipment. It doesn't require you actually having to go somewhere. We're busy people, right? So being able to spend 20 to 30 minutes a day, and it doesn't actually have to be a 3-hour or 2-hour endeavor, is key. We can run everywhere. You can run anywhere. If you're at a offsite, if you're at a business meeting, if you're on vacation, really all you need is a good pair of shoes, a little bit of running gear, and you're golden. So absolutely. So here, I got a question for you. So you've been running, I would say, seriously since summertime. You're probably getting in what? How many kilometers a week now are you trying for?
I strive for a 5K each morning if I can do that. I take it a little bit easier on the weekends because kids wake up a bit earlier, and which you think would be the other way around. But so I would say that I'm averaging between 25 to 35K a week. Sometimes on the weekend, I do get a chance to get out and run a little bit longer. So standard for me would be 5K a day. I've got my route. I run it pretty much without fail each day. I should try to vary it up a little bit, but I know exactly what it'll take to get me to that 5K mark. And then,
so you're doing your 5K a day. And then, with your daily 5Ks, what have you learned since you started in the summertime? Like, what's something that, looking back, surprises you now that you wouldn't have thought when you first started?
I would say that for myself, getting out there, trying to focus more on the our heartbeat ranges, or trying not to do too much too fast. I think that what I mean by that is I would get out there and almost be trying to like better myself each time in terms of my timing, but then I would be really sucking air at the back end of those runs. And when I took some time to take a step back and just really focus on keeping my heartbeat underneath the 140 beats per minute mark, I really started to soak in what was happening around me, and nature, the trees. I run through a cemetery every day, and just you notice things that you don't. And I'd find that when I would be done my run, I would just be more relaxed, not hurting. You feel more at peace, almost like it was a meditative kind of state when you're running there. So, and then I could have gone out for another 5K after that because I'm not trying to go too hard. But those mornings where I was just trying to better my previous time, I would feel it afterwards. You'd still feel that sense of accomplishment, but I didn't feel great afterwards. So I'd say I matured maybe a little bit more as a runner over the summer, with just being okay with not having personal bests each time, because who am I really trying to impress? I've got 7 followers on Strava. So
Never know. We might have 8 after this.
only
be positive here.
One can hope. We'll see.
But
But
it's a good point that you talk about, though, right? That's what I love to talk to you about, to get that fresh perspective, right? Because a lot of times new runners don't catch that till it's too late. And it's that mindset of sometimes we're all a little bit too type A, where you always want to better the run that you did yesterday or be better than you were yesterday. And you'll get there, absolutely. But you don't want to run yourself into injury, right? So I think that's key. So good on you for catching yourself. Because did you notice a difference, like you said, like the difference between running versus a pace that you're trying to hit, and running versus like just breathing, trying to breathe normally? You can see a difference, right?
absolutely, and I feel it, especially at the end there,
Really?
where when you're running that final, let's say 500 meters as well, and if you're really breathing heavy, you know that you pushed a little bit too hard. And I haven't had too many injuries over the years, but the one that does reoccur is one with my right knee. And I think I injured it one year doing boot camp, the one time that I did boot camp. And that just kind of follows me around. So every once in a while, when I'm pushing a little bit too hard, I get that tingling sensation in my knee. And the last thing I want to do is injure myself and be out, because with 2 young kids at home, you've got to be on, and you got to be willing to play hard and have a lot of fun. And I can't afford an injury just by pushing myself too hard right now. So, I crossed the 40-year-old mark this year, and that was also another, I'm going to call it stimulus or reason for me pushing to be a little more healthy in my life. And I want to be around for my kids. And so I thought, getting out, running again, some daily fitness, get that just overall health improved is what I've been striving for.
And for our new listeners, our goal, well, I don't know, it might take us 10 years to get there, but we have to get Mark signed up for a race. So he's a daily runner, but he has no interest in actually running a race. So that's something that we'd like to explore. And he's nodding his head. No, there's no race on the calendar yet for 2024, but we'll try to see what we can do to convince him that maybe to sign up for that local 5K.
We'll see. Well, what was your first race? What drove you to sign up for that first 5K?
Yeah, probably a lot like I'm trying to do with you. So my buddy Harvey probably spent an entire summer trying to get me to run. And it was a summer of, I think, 2016. And by September, I finally agreed. I said, you know what, I'll start running, and I'll run the Santa Claus race. I think it was called the Essex Jingle Bell Run, just in a small town here. And so I started training, had a goal in mind. Looking back, I probably needed that goal in mind to like keep me motivated, because those first couple runs that I went on were horrendous. Like I was out of breath, I was walking, I was questioning what on earth I was doing. But slowly, surely, I built towards that race in a couple months. And then for me, it was like a light switch. We went to that first race, maybe like a couple hundred people there. It was fun. The kids came. There was like snacks and drinks, and there was a race atmosphere. It was fun. So I kind of caught the bug. And then that one turned into another race a month later. And then that first year, I would probably try to run every Saturday, at least every Saturday with Harvey at a local 5K. And we got caught up in that. So for me, it was just that first race kind of was my gateway drug, if you want to call it.
So was the medallion that you received at the end of that Santa Claus run like a little gingerbread man running, or did you get to open a present at the end? Candy canes, lump of coal? What was it?
I think we just got a medal. It might be hanging up on my wall. I don't know. It is. There's one over there that's hanging up on the wall. But you know what's fun? Like I remember this in that first Jingle Bell run, and Mark knows me. I'm a little bit competitive, probably a lot competitive. But I was just having fun. I was probably out there for 27, 28 minutes, just running a 5K. And as I got to the finish line, I slowed up a little bit and I got beat in the last like couple steps from this older gentleman who was just kicking hard to the finish. And I mentioned it to my daughters afterwards. I'm like, I got out kicked at the end. I can't let that ever happen again. So that's like, and then you got to finish hard. So that was one of the last things to take away is don't coast to the finish line. If you got one more step, push through.
I was hoping you're going to say by a bearded man that was jolly, and he was saying ho 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 as he ran past.
Yeah, it was Santa Claus. Santa Claus caught me. Absolutely. He's fast. He has to get around the whole world in one night, Mark. Come on.
He just has to wiggle that nose, right? And then so at the finish line, milk and cookies for everybody. That could be something I could get behind there, though. Santa Claus run. It could be a lot of fun. Some eggnog. Eggnog was a bad choice.
True. But I think you started off with something that's really important, right? It's just that you're building consistency. So you are running really consistent and you're taking care of yourself. You're listening to your body. So the reason why like new runners kind of run into trouble is that when you're first starting off, you're not fit. Your muscles aren't fit. Your tendons aren't fit. Your bones aren't used to the loading. And you compile that, it takes time for the body to adjust to any stress. Most people think that they're unique or they're the exception to the rule. As we get older, I'm 46. It takes us longer than we ever think for our bodies to adjust. So if you think, in a month I can get fit, it's probably more like 3 or 4 months before you're actually fit. So that's why it's really hard for a new runner to be patient because they want to see short-term gains, right? And I think the approach that you have coming new into running and slowly building that consistency is it's gonna just be that platform to do whatever you want to do, to continue on your health journey, to run a race, or just to expand your daily running if time allows to maybe a few more minutes here and there.
And possibly one day I'll have, banners and, medals on the wall behind me. Unfortunately, I don't have one yet, but you know what? We'll see. We'll see if we get there, if I get that competitive bite in me to get out there and lace them up for a run. But I find that like that drive to get out there at 4:30 in the what's the earliest you've had to get out to a race? I know that you've ran quite a few now, especially if you look behind you. So what are your stats right now? So you have how many marathons under your belt right now?
Yeah. I've run 12 marathons and 1 ultra marathon distance, and some were in person, some were virtual back when we weren't allowed to travel and whatnot. But the earliest I actually had to get to a start line, I would say, was in New York. So I ran New York in 21 and 22, and that race is a marathon just to get to the start line. So you wake up at a hotel, you got to go down the subway, you got to get to Staten Island, onto a ferry, onto Staten Island, onto buses, which takes way too long to get on this bus, to the start line. So you probably have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get to Staten Island for 9 a.m. into your starting corral. And for me, I was running around 11 o'clock in the morning. So you're up from 4:30 to 11 just to start your race, and then 4.5 hours to get to the finish line. So yeah, you do actually have to wake up pretty early, but you practice that during your build. Is you practice the time of day you're going to run, waking up early. You want to make sure that you introduce your body and your mind to that sort of stress as best as you can to help make race day a great memory and not a disaster to remember.
Well, I imagine that morning commute then to the race is a good, stress for your body. You're seeing other people. I guess it's usually on a weekend though, right? So you're not going with the folks that are in the rat race, just trying to get to work in the morning, right? So, but then again, it is New York. Lots of people all the time, right? So,
Yeah.
something else I just wanted to ask you too is, from the years that you've been running now, I see right you're wearing a Path Projects hat, and you tend to wear a lot of Path clothing too. So let's talk about some of the gear that you've been introduced to over the years and that you've support. I know you've tried out a lot of different types, but you seem to have found things that you really, really like. So
Yeah, I'm a Path Projects ambassador. I'm a crew member, so I love my Path Projects. So you're right. If if I could get florists to make some more business clothes, you'd probably see me at work all day in my Path Projects. But yeah, I love it. The material, it's soft. It just fits. It wicks away moisture. It's quick dry. It doesn't smell, which as a runner, as you're progressing, if you're out there for a little bit of time, the clothes can smell. Don't have that problem with Path Projects, so I love it. But it's a good question, right? So gear, I'm probably much like you. When I first started, I just went to Winners. I found a cheap pair of running shoes and not thinking too much about them, went out and started running. And they were fantastic. I loved them. Then with time, you start dabbling, right? Like I hear somebody else running in this style, or I've heard about this brand, and you try to test everything. And that was one thing that's fun about running is to give everything a shot because you'll find out what works for you. And what works for me may not work for you, Mark, but and what works for you may not work for me. So the gear that I've really found to pay really close attention to is you got to have good footwear. And that doesn't mean you need to have like a giant cushion shoe. You just have to have a shoe that feels well to you. It feels right. It's comfortable. It's got room in it. It doesn't jam your foot in there. It lets your toes move around. So shoes mean everything. And then your gear, like you want to make sure that you're out in the run. And some of the questions that Mark's always asking me deal a lot with chafing. So so I say, hey, if you got your Path Projects on, Mark, you have nothing to worry about with chafing. But that for a lot of runners, like if you're running in the heat or running long distances, chafing can be an issue. So that's why you need that good running gear. And then as you run more and more, it's like anything in life, you have to spend all your time investing and buying into things that actually don't really help you during your run. So you got to have the good running watch and the sunglasses and the earphones, all this stuff that you don't really need. But you need a really good running gear kit and a pair of running shoes. Okay, so from your perspective, new runner, what did you learn with your gear when you first started off?
I haven't made the plunge over to running tights yet. So still a work in progress there, which I think contributes to perhaps the chafing. So we'll get there. I remember at one point in time, having a shower after a run and being like, there needs to be perfect kind of running underwear, and I'll call it runderwear. And then it exists already. So it's amazing that, somebody's going to start to think that all I do is add the word run to everything, the run.
I wasn't even saying anything, but yeah, could be.
One trick pony here. But when it comes to gear, I remember the first pair of running shoes that I bought. This is when I graduated from school and I thought I was going to go to the gym a little bit more often. I bought some Adidas, and they were okay. They did the job for a number of years, and I actually think I probably still have them around the house somewhere. And there have been some great shoes that I've worn. There have been some terrible shoes that I've worn. And most recently, I bought a pair of, and nothing against Asics, because I've had some great pairs of Asics too over the years, but the pair that I bought, I purchased them because I wanted something with some grip for the winter, in case the roads get a little bit icy and I'm still out there, at the minus 0 degrees Celsius temperature. And I thought, these will be great for it because of the grip. But then when I actually started running in them, it's like running on brick. They have such a hard sole. They don't look very cool. Not that that matters, but for a new runner, hey, you want to look legit, right? And anyway, so they just really aren't doing what I was hoping they would do. I think I've seen some seniors wearing them around as just their, comfy shoes. And I've unfortunately I'll wear them when I need to, but the pair of shoes or the brand of shoes that I've actually really enjoyed more recently are the Ultras. And so I bought a pair of Ultra trail shoes, the toe box, just wide open, just they're so comfortable. The soles have been very light, cushiony, and I don't know all the technical terms when it comes to running shoes, but overall, the two pairs that I now have, and one pair you've gifted me, which I thank you for, and they're quite wonderful, but they are great and you enjoy wearing them. And recently I had a trip to California and I wore them around while hiking, and it was just great compared to other shoes that I've had. And
we're going to link that in the show notes because like Mark was in California for a few days and he kept sending me these amazing photos of the ocean, running along the ocean on some trails. And I'm like, And here I am running in the dark with a headlamp on. So yeah. Thanks for reminding that, Mark. It looks like you had a hard time out there in California running on the beach.
but you know what? The thing about that, and yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because when you travel, one of the best ways of exploring the area around where you're staying is A, walking, but B, running, because you get to see more. And
excellent point. Excellent.
And so I was able and fortunate to be able to get out for 5 and 10Ks each morning to just really explore what's along the shoreline, where some of the stores are, so I can pick up souvenirs later on. Just get an overall taste of what is walkable and what you can take an Uber to, and that. And the peace that you'd feel in the morning running the coastline and seeing all the other folks out there running, walking, and enjoying it was just wonderful. So I saw some coffee shops that I'd hit up later on in the week. Got a great croissant and jam the one day at a beach kind of just coffee shop. It was just wonderful. And then just took the time to soak in that shoreline, and it was great. So running...
You touched on a great topic. Yeah, like when you're on vacation, there is no better way or out of town to see a new city than to explore with a jog. It's fantastic. You're right.
And we were fortunate enough to do that together in Montreal when we had a trip, right? And it was great to run down to the St. Lawrence River there and just see the shoreline and old part of Montreal. And it was just a great way to see some history too.
Yeah, it was fun. I was taking a lot of photos. So I was your personal photographer. I was trying to snap some really cool photos for you.
That's great.
And you for me.
Yep, I'll have to put those up on the Runklemark Instagram handle there. So, but lots of fun. So that is also something else that I'd say that I've really enjoyed about running is that opportunity just to get out and do something different, whether it's trail running or running in Old Montreal or running in California. Something that Mark from 1 year ago would not have been exposed to. So again, thanks for putting that the running bug in my ear, and here we are.
It only took 6 years. I think it was 5 years. 5 years. So I'm a slow worker. That's how I roll. But you know what? I came across an article, Mark, and I thought that I could use it to maybe ask you a few questions. It came from Runner's World earlier this year, and it was called 14 Running Tips for Beginners. And maybe it's not just for beginners. I would say that we could probably all learn from these 14 tips. So maybe we can digest them a little bit. So my first observation, 14 running tips. That seems like a lot. I don't know if that's a little bit overwhelming to a new runner. What do you think if someone came up to you with 14 tips of how to be a new runner?
I mean, I would probably skim through them and take the top 5 that are most relevant to me. But I mean, it's great that somebody put the 14 together, because what works for me may not work for the next new runner. So yeah, I'm very curious. So ask away.
Okay. So the first running tip for beginners was you have to find a safe or enjoyable route. What are your thoughts about how do you find your safe and enjoyable route?
Absolutely. What I have to say is staying off the road or finding a route that's off a road with a lot of traffic is key. The route that I run each morning, there's maybe 3 or 4 minutes where I'm running on the side of the road, but in those 3 or 4 minutes each way, it's actually quite scary because you have people that are distracted. Sometimes you have people that are on their phones, or maybe there's the glare of the sun, depending on the time of year. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to leap off the road because people are getting really, really close, especially, that coincidental time where there's cars that are passing each other and you're also on the edge of the road too, just at that perfect timing where nobody's really giving each other any space. So
Yep.
very important.
Totally with you on that.
And I know that you and I have talked about that too, where people have, if there's a puddle and the timing is there as well, and they have the ability to soak you in the puddle. I don't know what it is about maybe my running face. Maybe I look angry and they just want to soak me or what, but not ideal. But once I get past that point, I have a cemetery here in Chatham, Ontario, where I'm able to do loops and I can run as much as I want in there. There's very little traffic. There's some workers in the morning getting things set up.
Very little judgment probably too. There's probably no judgment in the cemetery either, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few folks in there that are, the daily, I think they're real people anyway. Never thought about this before.
We'll explore that in a future episode.
We've never seen them outside of the cemetery, so they aren't apparitions. But anyway, you see safe environment in there for sure. And again, you can just do continual routes and circuits around there, which I love. How about yourself? I know that you have some safe places around your home.
Yeah, the same idea. Like the key that I heard from you is something that I kind of focus on myself was you got to find that safe route, ideally away from traffic. If you have a trail around you, trails are the best. If you don't have a trail, the shoulder of a road or a very quiet road. I live in a very small town. I'm blessed to have a provincial park right across the street from me, and you'll find me there every day. There's no traffic. But if you actually do find yourself in traffic, the article talks about this, and it's stuff that maybe it's commonplace. But as you're running, don't assume that the car actually sees you. And don't assume that the car is actually going to move away from you. Take control of yourself, move off to the side, make yourself seen, run facing traffic, but don't ever put your safety in the hands of a driver who, we'll explore that maybe in a future episode because a lot of runners see this. We get run off the road either mistakenly, purposely, quite often, at least once a run. So you got to be really careful.
That's a really good point. And since taking up running a little more semi-seriously, I've purchased a beacon. So I've got the blue light that just blinks very, very bright. You can see from a distance. And actually, a lady yesterday and the day before, I've seen her now as a regular in the cemetery there. And she said, "You get around quite a bit. I see your blue light blinking all over the cemetery." So I think at first it took her off guard because I wear a lot of black. And my whole entire running outfit is black. So I do need light. So I do have, like I said, the beacon. I've got reflector band on my other sleeve. The coat does have reflectors on it. The Ultra shoes have reflection material built into it. And then I also have the headlamp. So the headlamp has been key in the morning because I can, low, high, and then it blinks as well. And I find that whatever I can do to get the attention of the cars that are coming towards me, it helps. And I've seen a noticeable difference since I started employing those.
Well, that layers perfectly into the second part. The second tip was pick a time of day that works for you. So you shared that you run early in the morning. I'll run usually any time of day that I can sneak it in. Usually it's morning on the weekends, after work during the week. So we're running in low light for most of the year in Canada. So having reflections or the lights, the flashing lights, be seen. That's key. And I think that was if you go one step further in that second tip, it's about don't overthink it. Pick the time of day that works best for you. If you have a very busy life, you might have to sneak out 30 minutes in the morning before work. And if you have to run at 9 o'clock at night, that's okay. There's no right or wrong time of day, as long as it's enjoyable and you're actually making it a part of your day. That's the hardest thing for, I would say, all runners is developing that habit. So really setting aside time in your day for 20, 30, 40 minutes, whatever it needs to be. Now, you touched on something, Mark. You touched on something about when you first started off was your running pace. So when you first started running, you were just out and running. And you said along the lines of you were just trying to better your previous run. The third tip that they offer is to start slowly. And I wrote an article about this, and I'll link it in the show notes. But what actually is slow to you? What was slow to you, and what is slow to you now?
Great question. I think that where I feel the most comfortable coming in, at the end of a run is around that 5 minutes, 30 seconds a kilometer mark. I find that taking my time, I'm breathing correctly, I'm not pushing myself too hard. When I get closer to that 5 minute or 4 minute and 30 second mark, I'm feeling it afterwards. So I know that's too fast.
What does feeling feel like? How do you know it feels too hard?
Feels that I'm forcing it. So my breathing is elevated. I can feel my heart beating a lot faster too. And you just feel like you're really pushing yourself. And that's where you still feel fine at the end. Your recovery is a little bit longer there too, but it is just, you just know that you're pushing it. And sometimes you're feeling like you need to stop and walk when you're really, in that, especially down at the 4 minutes and 30 seconds, being a new runner again. I know that that's easy for some people, but for me, that's when I'm perhaps taking some time to get a little bit of a 1 minute walk in between, and then before I start up again. So
you're bang on. You touched on one of the tips that it was coming up was it's okay to walk, especially for new runners. Maybe running's the wrong name. It's jogging. You're just out for a little bit of exercise. You don't necessarily mean to run the entire time. And you touched on something really cool too that I heard is perception. You can self-perceive when you're running easy and when you're running too hard if you're really honest with yourself. So very similar. I have a very similar pace to you. If I'm running 5:30, maybe 5:45 minutes per kilometer, the breathing's easy. I can talk. I can easily carry on a conversation without having a great urge to breathe. So that's really good. And I find if I start to pick up that pace a little bit, especially if you're on a group run or running with a buddy, that's when you start to get a little bit, heavier breathing. You're having trouble keeping up. So that maybe to help you with that kind of self-gauge, if you don't have that fancy running watch, is to really sense in, when are you actually switching from that easy breathing, easy talking to where you're starting to like maybe breathe like in, out, in, out. That'll tell you once you start past that threshold, you're pushing it a little bit too fast. And you know what, as you mature as a runner, as you get more base built under you, you want to be able to do that a few times a week. There's no worries about that. But as a new runner, you have no base. You're starting from nowhere. So you want to give yourself that time to recover, to be stronger, for your body to adapt. And perception, the breathing rate, that's a great way to keep you in that easy pace. People say like, I got to run easy today. Then they're going out on Strava and hammering 4 minute kilometers, setting 5K PBs. That's not easy, no matter what they say in Strava. I always joke, I think I joked to you about that. If you title that in Strava, does that make it real? No, just because you call it an easy run in Strava, it may not be an easy run. Walking is really cool, key. You talked about on your run, do you encounter any hills?
Here in Chatham, no. Very, very few. We have a green space that's behind our neighborhood, and there is a little slight hill that goes down over the creek and back up, but nothing to write home about. What I noticed when I was running in California, certainly a lot more elevations there, and it definitely changed my runs too. And what I did is I didn't try to force it running up those hills. I would actually take the time to just walk up. And I didn't want to force any kind of injuries because this is, geography that I'm not as familiar with. My body is not used to those elevations. And so I thought that going out there, taking it easy on those inclines will only help me because too much too soon, again, I'm going to go home with an injury, and that's not going to be great for Christmas, right? So.
Yeah, you just touched on some. Did you actually write this article? This actually might be written by Mark. This is fantastic. But you're bang on. When you encounter a hill, slow down. Especially new runners, when you see that incline, walk up the incline. And also be careful as a new runner running downhill. The downhills can feel great. Gravity's pulling you. Physics is on your side, and you can run a little bit too fast, and you might actually might not be ready to run too fast. So yeah, watch out for those hills. Take it easy on the hills. Another one here that says tips for new runners and for any runner. Distance doesn't matter. What does that mean to you?
For distance, that doesn't matter. I would say that in my mind, I've always tried to strive for that 5K each morning, and that could have also been a little bit too much too fast for folks. So I would say that for the new runner, start walking and then maybe run, 400 meters and then walk again and then maybe another 600 or 200. But the important thing is just getting out there and doing it, and try and start having fun with it. You're not having to impress anybody. You're just, whatever goals you have, make sure that they're internal and for yourself, and you can build from there. There's always greater distances you can accomplish, but it doesn't really help when you do too much too fast, get injured. Then you're going to hang up those shoes. You're not going to feel like doing it.
Yep.
The next day you're going to want to recover for who knows how long. It might take weeks if you do, pull a hammy or something like that. So.
And that's what you're trying to avoid as a new runner, an experienced runner. Consistency. You want consistency. You want to avoid the injury. And really what injury means is just time away. When I hear distance doesn't matter to me, sometimes runners can tie their sense of outcome or their perception of a run to a certain distance. So it's like, I must do a 5K today. I must do a 10K or run 10 miles today. And so, yeah, just watch out for that. Like you said, Mark, just start off slow and don't necessarily run to round numbers. Numbers are meaningless. So yeah, distance does not matter. What about this one? What about this one here? They talk about relax. So you mentioned earlier that when you picked up the pace, maybe you felt like you were pushing a little bit more. So one tip they offer new runners is consciously relaxing on the run. So how do you relax on your run?
So I would say that one of the things that I've introduced a little more recently is not running to such aggressive music. I love good heavy music, whether it's electronic or heavy metal. Usually they tend to have a faster beat, and rhythmically you almost try to match that when you're running, which is interesting. So something that I've introduced a little more recently would be more calming music. And when you're running at a slower pace and there's something that is just, zen about having something almost meditative where you're running and you're like seeing the birds, seeing the trees, just how different everything looks when you're actually paying attention. So running relaxed as well, when you're not trying to push and you're just, trying to run like you're, on a cloud. This is sounding really weird now, but this is what I actually think about when I'm running. So just taking it easy.
You're running on the cloud.
Well, with those ultras, feels like it. But it's actually true. When I'm not forcing myself to run too fast, and I'm consciously trying to just have a nice, truly easy run, you just feel so much better afterwards, during, and then and just your mind afterwards too. You just feel you have a little more clarity. So that's what it means to me. How about yourself?
Yeah, I would say that relaxation comes from being able to be in the moment. So for sure, the type of music that you're listening to, a great podcast you're listening to, it can help motivate you. It can also help relax you. I totally agree with that. Just being able to be at one with the thoughts and the time that you have. When I ran the 50 miler, that was the one thing I was really worried leading up into this is for 12 hours, I'm going to be out there without music, without a podcast or my favorite book playing. So actually, how am I be able to stay in the moment, stay relaxed? But yeah, it's actually just kind of reminding yourself, checking in every couple of minutes. Am I holding tension in my hands? Am I holding tension in my feet? Am I running with an engaged core? All those keys that they tell us for great running form. Just stay relaxed. So that's how I kind of think of it, and that's how I would position it, is to be conscious, be thinking about, are you holding tension, especially after a busy, stressful day, and release that tension, just relax, and it's excellent.
But at times during that run, though, that 50 miler, did you wish that you had that music to kind of distract that mind from focusing on maybe your feet were feeling a little bit worn down, or, some of your joints? Did you want that welcomed distraction at some point?
Leading up to it, I thought I did, but when I was running it, no, I didn't. I totally enjoyed the whole 12 hours, every step, every station, every crew checkpoint, all the runners. I loved it. So I wouldn't want that a distraction. Maybe that was a light switch that turned on for me. Is it's not about distracting. It's about leaning into the hurt, the pain. It's all good pain, and not shying away from that. There was something that was just on the recent Extra Mile List podcast. I think it was episode 79. They had Matt Fitzgerald and Ryan White on, and they talked about that, about pain. Like, as humans, we want to try to avoid pain at all costs. But as runners, as we develop, especially starting off, and as you develop, you're going to be sore. That's one of the tips in here, is about, it's okay to be sore. And the podcast with Matt Fitzgerald, they explored that, and they made the comment that not all pain is damage. So as a new runner, you might be out there thinking something hurts, but it's kind of coming to peace with that. Is it hurt? Is it damage? You'll know the difference. As you started off running, did you wake up in the morning? Did you feel a little bit of new pain that you didn't feel before?
Absolutely. But then I asked myself, who's going to lift the boats? Who's going to lift the logs? And I had to get back out there and get right back at it.
That's right.
But in all honesty, it's definitely, you feel it, whether it's, in your caboose or your thighs, your calves. Certainly felt the difference being a more regular runner. And it's kind of the good hurt, though. You can tell the good hurt from the bad hurt pretty easily, right? And you almost long for that the good hurt, because you feel like you're doing something to improve your overall wellness and fitness. So
you're bang on.
But definitely felt that when there's been any kind of hiatus from running, getting back out there, you just you feel it again.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what? Like, that daily pain, it's okay to feel a little sore in the morning. It should go away pretty quick as you start to move around. If it doesn't, that's another sign. Our bodies are constantly trying to talk to us. Most of us aren't listening. So it goes back to that, maybe the music or the stuff that we're listening to. That can be helpful, but it also can be a distraction. And if you're distracted, you're missing the cue that your body's actually trying to tell you. So in the past, if I noticed my ankle was a little sore or my calf was sore and I had my music blaring, now that if I run without it, I can say, oh, maybe I'm slouched down a little bit, like keep the shoulders up, arms back, run proud, keep the arms in the right position. So like those cues your body's trying to tell you, they mean everything. And in the morning, if you're not feeling better after the first couple minutes, you probably ran too hard the day before and you might need a day off. And that's another one of the tips that they offer here, is it's okay to skip a day, especially new runners, runners who are just starting off. You don't actually have to run every single day. I like what you shared. You're trying to do 5K 5 days a week, right? Maybe a run every now and then on the weekend, but you didn't do too much. You had a really good goal in mind, which not to run every single day. You might get there one day, but right now it was run 5K a day. So how did you get there? Like, how did you get to, why did you want to run 5K 5 days a week?
In my mind, 5K has just been, a respectable, and this is not even for other people, I guess, but it's one of those distances where I think at first it seemed daunting for me. And I remember years ago, this has got to be sometime between maybe 2012, 2013, when I was starting to, this is one of those chapters where I ran for maybe a month or two and then stopped. But that was something that, in the evening I would get out and run that, and I would have that sense of accomplishment, because it wasn't just, 1 kilometer or 2 in my mind. It was 5, and that was a lot for me. I thought that this is something that I'd never do. And then I started doing it regularly. So, not saying this is kind of going against one of the earlier tips there where, work your way up to the distance, or distance doesn't really matter. But in my mind, I wanted to challenge myself. And 5 has always been that level of, okay, I accomplished something that day. And that was it. But now, 5, doing a daily 5, it's the weekend runs where I can get up to, 8 or 10 kilometers that now I'm feeling that, okay, I have a sense of accomplishment, that I've done a little bit extra if time permits. Having a young family and a busy work life too, as we were mentioning before, time is at a premium, and it's sometimes it's not available. And I know today I probably won't get out for a run, but that's okay. I'll find the time over the holidays. We're getting into the the Christmas season right now with lots on the go in terms of family commitments. So fitting it in when I can is key. But knowing that I don't need to do that every day is also something I've become a little more comfortable with.
Yeah, like that's awesome. And from what I'm hearing from a new runner, you're well positioned for like tons of success, because I was going to ask you that. How do you come to terms if you can't actually get your 5K run in a day? Do you battle that? Does it make you feel bad during the day? How does that feel? But it sounds like you come to terms with that. You're okay. You're easy. It's not a rigid part of your day. Would that be an accurate assessment?
I'd say yes. We have had some gastro issues this week with the house, and, cold and flu season making its way through. So I didn't want to test myself running too much after what we experienced. So
we'll get you to a trail race where you can really test those gastro issues there, Mark.
We testing a few things if that's the case. But yeah, it was one of those weeks where we've kind of taken a step back from doing too much too soon. And so I'm still getting out with the dog, morning walks there, but nothing too, I didn't want to pound the pavement too much until things got a little more back to normal. So, but yes, I've become a little more comfortable with the days where, I'm not running out there. I find other things to do. I'm still getting a decent amount of steps in, which is great. If I can fit in a longer walk with the dog in the morning or in the evening too as well, then I feel I'm getting a certain level of fitness. It's just not the same as, a run, but it makes me look that much more forward to that next run when I get out there.
Yeah, no, that's a good aspect. I believe it was Steve Magnus and Brad Stolberg that the advice they offer for runners or for anybody exercising: does the thing control you, or do you control the thing? And as I would say, intermediate runner who tries to run every single day, I can see different times in my month, my year, where, yeah, the run actually does control a little bit too much of my day or of my focus. And that's because I'm training for a big goal. And what's important is it's okay to be that way sometimes, but you have to be able to come to terms that it's okay to step away, that if you miss your run, it's not going to be the end of the day, the end of the world. But then as you're training for a big event, it's okay to be a little bit of Goggins. You know what? If it's 11 o'clock at night and that's the only time you have to get your run in, get out there and get your run in. Like, you just got to get this done, right? But you can't be that way all the time. So don't let that run, don't let the exercise control you. You have to have control over it. That was pretty cool. That was a good key that I took away from Steve and Brad on that.
Oh, that's great. Now, Todd, this is our first real full episode of our podcast. So I want to thank folks that have been listening this far along for us as we kind of tweak, adjust things. I know we have a lot of fun things planned over the next several months, but can you let us know just a few things that's coming up for us on this podcast, or what kind of topics do you think we'll start exploring? What kind of guests are you hoping to have on the show?
You know what? Like when you and I were talking about the concept for Runderlust, to me there was 3 kind of things that came out. The first thing would be that great guests, and guests that all have something in common. They've all done something really big. They're really great people. They want to help others. and they're just great people. So we're gonna have some really great guests. Stories. You know what? These guests have some pretty good stories. You have some great stories. I have some great stories. We'll share these stories. And the third thing would be like our experience and our learnings. So like there's articles that we read, there are books that we come across, there's podcasts that we listen to, and pulling out some of those keys and exploring it a little bit more in depth. So we're excited. We have some really great guests lined up. It was one of the things that I thought that might have been the most difficult was to book a guest. So thankfully the guests have agreed and put some faith into us. So booking the guests have actually been the easiest thing. The hardest thing actually has been setting up our cameras and trying to figure out this whole podcasting thing. So that's it. So you think of those three things. We're gonna have some great guests, some great stories, and some really great learnings and experiences that we can all share. What do you hope that we can bring in 2024, Mark, with Runderlust?
Well, you touched on it there with the lighting. I want to make sure that, everyone can see us in the right light. I promise that in the next Wonderlust show that clock that is clicking will not be in the background too as well. But you're right with how much time it took to actually get things situated here. So we are not professionals. I think that is the thing. And that's the accessibility to the show.
You think people wouldn't tell that?
I hope that resonates with people, that this could be you. You may be on the show in the future. So if you're listening right now, again, thank you.
Absolutely. The Runderlust Show at gmail.com. If you want to be on the show, if you want to share something big you done, give us a line. We'd love to hear.
That's right. And then if you want to follow Todd on Instagram, it is Todd
Ultra Marathon Man. And we'll link that in the show notes. And Mark, you are
Runkle Mark.
Just
think about Scooby-Doo saying Uncle Mark, and that's pretty much what you have. So again, it's going to be fun. I think I'm looking forward to. I never thought in a million years that we would be doing a podcast, or I'd even be on a podcast.
Look at us.
But here we are. Look at us. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Not me.
It's awesome.
It's gonna be fun.
This has been so much fun, Mark. This has been so much fun. Now we'll do some post-processing to see how this actually goes, if we can actually get this up into the Internet of Things. And I don't know. So stay tuned. This was episode Wonderlust. And episode 2 should be dropping early in the new year. And that will be with a great guest. We won't give any, maybe we'll drop some nuggets on social media that people can kind of anticipate who our great first guest would be. But with that, I just want to thank you for listening to all my running stories. And I want to thank you for starting to run, because I think it's a great foundation to build on a happy and healthy life. So kudos for you, Mark.
Absolutely. I thank you for all the information that you've shared over the years. And here we are. So looking forward to episode number 2. Everyone have a safe and happy holiday. And we will see you soon.